All right, welcome in, welcome in. I have returned again. Dan
You're
with
back.
another solo Saturday stream. Sounds like it went really well, so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Thanks all guys for tuning in. There, we don't have like the overlay or anything on those streams, but glad
Yeah.
to see you guys are still showing up. And
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of old school. Just, my big stupid face in front of a camera, no fancy graphics or anything. But hey, hopefully the advice was good. I think it was for the most part. We did have some wacky games. So yeah, there were a couple of tough start sit questions that I got that Blake, you and I were talking about before the stream. Yeah, we don't have to get into those now, but I think for the most part, I definitely had some good advice, good process, and hopefully you guys won most of your matchups this week.
yeah. I mean, you're just talking about last week. I don't know. Maybe we could just start by just I don't know. I guess that's probably a reasonable thing to do on a Wednesday stream is like talk a little bit about what happened last week. I guess while we wait for people to
Hey,
come
can't
in.
hear you.
Oh,
Oh,
hello.
now you're back. All of a
Yeah,
sudden, you were just like mute.
yeah. I was like, honestly, maybe we should just start these Wednesday live streams and just talk about what briefly kind of how the week felt. Like I think 1 week removed, so I guess 2 weeks ago now. We that was like the Biomageddon. That was such a wonky, weird week, and I mean, yeah, I saw it on my teams. Like my teams did like unbelievably atrocious. And probably just because half of it was everyone's on bye, but players were really bad that were good. This week we kind of see that bounce back. All the players back on bye. Uh, some really good games as well. I felt like those games 2 weeks ago were really bad. Like there was no close games. I think 2 weeks ago. I remember in like Red Zone they were saying like we have one game that's within like two scores or something like that, or something
Oh
wonky.
wow.
Or at some point, I don't know. Maybe it got
Hmm.
better. This week it
Okay.
felt a lot better. There was like these way better matchups. They were close. They were tight. And good players were scoring points, and exciting players were scoring points. What stands out to you as some notable like performances from maybe surprises or
Yeah.
disappointments?
I mean, the big thing that stands out to me is that Bengals Bears game. I mean, that just turned into a wild score fest, shootout. I mean, Caleb Williams went nuts. Joe Flacco went nuts despite the injury. And so that just ended up being that game that you kind of needed to have pieces of realistically if you wanted to win your matchup. I mean, not that you couldn't like win it without that. I mean, certainly there were a lot of other good performances this past week, but man, I mean, that's just that game that changed the outcomes of a lot of fantasy matchups. So it does kind of get my mind thinking in terms of like looking ahead and like, okay, what can we learn from that? What can we take away from that? It just kind of makes me think maybe that's something, and I think it's something we do already to an extent, but maybe potentially put even more emphasis on just trying to forecast like what's that game going to be this week?
Yeah,
What's going to be that game that just turns into this like insane shootout that like you needed pieces of, to realistically or have a great chance of winning your matchup. And there have been other games like that this season. I mean, what was it like? Cowboys Broncos.
yeah,
And then yeah, I feel like yeah, the Broncos games like even like 2 weeks in a row. Because the week before that, I think it was like Broncos Giants, if I'm not mistaken, and that was another crazy
that's right.
one.
Yeah,
So I think it really just underlines the importance of these certain games that really just blow up and decide a lot of fantasy matchups. And I think it would be great to be able to forecast that and kind of get ahead of that. Um, I think that could go a long way toward winning fantasy matchups just based on like your start sit decisions, which guys you're picking up off waivers, maybe even trades you're making that week leading up to it. So I definitely think it's something we got to think more and more about.
no, I mean, yeah, as long as you get like to this point of the season, we have a ton of data on who are the good match. I mean, you just think of any good game this year, or like a fantasy shootout. I mean, like you're gonna see a lot of Bears, Ravens, like with their defense, and hopefully Lamar when Lamar's healthy. Bears, actually, I think they just played Bears and Ravens. Was that even that big of a game? Funny enough, that was a weird one.
Okay.
But anyways, I don't know. Maybe that was 2 weeks ago. I don't know. But Bears
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Ravens and Cowboys and Broncos and
Yeah.
it's always the same. Bengals is the big one, obviously.
Yeah.
It's always the same team. So really, you just gotta look at like these core teams that have terrible defenses and really good offenses. And and see who they're playing basically. And anytime you get an alignment of those two teams, you're like, okay, this is probably the week. I mean, yeah, the amount
Right.
of times I've seen Bears this year, it's like, okay, you better start.
Yes.
Yeah, someone there. Cowboys, yeah, same thing. So,
But it
we're
is interesting though, because in terms of like my process personally, and I think you're pretty similar, Blake. I really don't put like too much emphasis on the matchup just in general, at least in terms of like the matchup in the sense of like, okay, this team is allowing the fifth fewest points to running backs, or they allow like the most points to running backs, or those kind of like specific fantasy matchups for your players. I don't put too much emphasis on those because we're really bad at telling like when they're going to matter and when they're not. But I think in a more general sense, like you say, when you have two of these teams that just seem to be consistently at the center of these like wild shootouts that are determining fantasy matchups, I think that's more of like the matchups that I care about. So it's not so much how is this defense against wide receivers or quarterbacks or running backs per se. It's not looking at like individual matchups. It's more just like, okay, I'm circling the Cowboys and the Bears and the Ravens and the Broncos and the Bengals and just these like certain teams, at least by this point in the season when we really know. And yeah, just wanting either pieces of those offenses or the teams on the other side, whoever's playing against them that week,
yeah.
or even more so, like you highlight, when two of those teams are playing against each other, oh, now it's on. Now like we got to go all in.
Yeah, I mean, you're mentioning with the matchups. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, I'm not breaking ties between elite players. Like, I'm not sitting good players because they have a bad matchup. But when we start getting into all these flex type guys, yeah, I'm absolutely looking though. Like, and here's the thing: I'm not looking at like the sleeper points for thing. I want to know schedule adjusted. Those can be so deceiving. Those sleeper red
Right.
and green.
Right.
A team could have just played like, I don't know, starting Dawson Knox, who are some of the worst tight ends in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Think of them all, and they could look like a really, really good like bad matchup. But really, they just play. You know what I mean? We all know how that works. Our quarterbacks the same way. But when you get the schedule adjusted, it is a very, very good job telling. So yeah, I'm not gonna sit James Cook because he's playing the Patriots, who are allowing like literally nothing to the running backs right now. But
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
there's a lot that you can do with the matchups because so many of especially on these like redraft or when you have strong dynasty rosters or actually just we often have so many similar plays where you can play this like Alec Pierce guy in like a or whatever, some player like that in a great matchup. Like, yeah, I want to play a guy like that over some running back that's like not even he's kind of like a borderline play. And okay, he's playing like literally the worst matchup this week. Yeah, I don't care if his name's J.K. Dobbins or whatever it is. Like, I'm gonna sit him for whatever, this guy in a really good matchup. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I certainly put a lot into like these matchup things. I'm just not making like I'm not sitting good players though. Is the point?
yeah.
Like, really talented players.
Right. I mean, I think one thing that came up during the Saturday start sit stream was Rico Dottle, and that was probably my best call of the week. I mean, anytime Rico Dottle came up, I was pretty much pounding the table for him and saying like, look, like you really got to try to get him in your starting lineup. And it didn't seem like too many people were like excited about him. It's like maybe because it had been a couple weeks since we had seen like the back-to-back 40-point games. He had kind of cooled down. Chuba Hubbard was sort of taking the job back. But then, we got the report that it's probably going to be Rico Dottle's job again as the workhorse. And I really didn't care that, they were playing the Packers. I think the game was even at Green Bay at Lambeau. And it was just like, okay, but we saw this guy put up back-to-back 40-point games. Like, I don't really care who he's playing. And I mean, the point was brought up, well, like, oh, he did that against like the 40-point games were against like weak defenses. But it's like, but he put up 40 points 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like back-to-back weeks, 40 points. Like, I don't care who he was playing. Like, you don't just do that. Like, that's not a normal thing. So it's like, I don't even, and of course, like, we don't need him to score 40 points. Like, give me half of that. Like, why can't he score 20 at Green Bay? And I think he ended up scoring like 25 or somewhere in that range. So.
Yeah, I like, dude, I didn't even know Rico Dowdle was named the starter. Like, I just left him in lineup. Like, that was not a decision to make. You still need to leave. So the fact, like, I mean, hopefully these viewers didn't know he was like actually named the starter, because like that, yeah, dude, if Rico Dowdle was like actually named the starter, I mean, like that, Like, dude, I would have
I
went
was
out.
saying that. I mean, I was talking about the report that like he should be the workhorse again. I mean, at least that's what's being said. Like you
Yeah.
never know how things are actually going to play out. Maybe the coaches lie, or maybe there's some kind of hot hand situation where they could go away from their plan. But I mean, I was talking about that, but it still seemed like there was a lot of skepticism about him because of the matchup. So I do think it underlines the
Yeah.
fact that we don't want to put like too much
No,
emphasis into
yeah, dude.
individual matchups like that.
No, that's a
Um,
great example of it. Like, you do not sit Rico Dowdle with what he's
yeah,
done, especially after the coach comes out and says, "Hey, he's gonna be our guy, whatever, going forward for this week. Be the lead back." That's a perfect example of I don't care if they're playing Green Bay. Also, I think Green Bay has potentially been a little bit overrated of a defense from at least from the start of the season. We thought maybe
mhm.
they were a really bad matchup. We'll see how that plays in. I haven't looked too closely into them.
Yeah.
But
But I think another point too is just when a player shows you that he can produce fantasy points, and
yeah,
in this case, can produce fantasy points at an elite level, you should probably believe it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times we like to make excuses for players, like, oh, this was a fluke. Oh, that's not going to happen again. Oh, he had one long play, or oh, he did a lot of it in one game, or oh, it was a really easy matchup. We come up with like all these excuses, but like, hey, if you put up 40 points in back-to-back weeks, like, I don't care if you were, against high school team. I mean, like 40 points is 40 points. Like if someone does that in the NFL, like I'm just gonna believe that they're pretty damn good.
no, you gotta start him. Like I'm thinking of start sits. I'm thinking like Kamani Vidal, not like Rico Dowdle. And actually, kind of Kamani Vidal's had a couple of good games, but like to me, that's a matchup kind of guy. Like he's succeeded in good matchups, and he has really struggled
Yeah,
with
and
bad matchups. Like
which was crazy. Then why he disappointed in a really good matchup, and he had been hot
yeah,
like big games in 2 of the last 3 weeks. And in the defense of our viewers, I mean, some of them did have very tough start sit decisions.
yeah,
I mean, they're debating between like Rico Dottle and Monangai and
yeah.
Henderson and throwing like one other, and then it's like, okay, start two of these guys. I think that was like a question
Yeah.
from the hall. I'm trying to remember who the fourth guy was, but it's like, oh man, like these are all pretty good options.
No,
So
yeah, that's
there are some tough calls, especially in these shallow
that's
redraft leagues.
yeah, that's the one thing. You get these shallow redraft leagues. You can have some very tough ones. Benangai obviously put up a good week, and Henderson had a good workload. So yeah, that's when you have a lot of these really obvious, like kind of like you want to get all these guys in a lineup and you can't. Yeah, that's when things can
Right.
get difficult. I don't know. Maybe you just break the tie with like the guy that has scored 40 points twice this week.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Oh,
Oh,
there we go.
are we back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I
Cool.
don't
Yeah.
know what happened.
What
Yeah, my
happened here?
internet just went out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're sorry. We're back. Yeah, you just get back what you're saying. Sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, we were just talking about Rico Dottle, and oh yeah, I was just saying that. I mean, when you're trying to break ties, I mean, look at like who has that elite potential for like a massive spike week. Like
Yeah.
who has that chance to win you a week by themselves if like everything else goes wrong. So I do think that's a good tiebreaker.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like matchup. Yeah, I certainly. Sometimes can tell you when you got these borderline guys. Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, but start your studs. Get them in there. The guys have been.
Oh yeah, for
producing,
sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, again, when in doubt, like start your best players. By the way, we got 7 people in watching right now. Welcome, good to have everyone here. We got Nahal in the chat. He says, "Yo." We got Seb. He's all. Would y'all start Tez Johnson over Theo Johnson? So hey, we're already getting the start sit questions. Do you want to tackle this real quick? What do you think? RJ Harvey or Vidal?
Yeah, actually, Seb, I was talking to him, and I just went, man, like, see, Vidal to me is one of those classic start sits guy. Who does he play this week? Let's first off see who he number one plays this week. Plays the Steelers, who have been kind of like a decent, better than previous years. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, Vidal is such a weird one where we have seen some shootouts with the Steelers. Sometimes even you see it in a good matchup last week. Like you don't. You take on the risk when you start Vidal of things going very, very bad, like as far as the game script or whatever's going on. It's kind of strange with him, but yeah, when he catches fire and they play the Vikings or whatever, Miami, he can be a solid option. To me, I'm actually looking at Harvey and I'm just seeing like, dude, this guy scored 4 touchdowns receiving in 4 straight weeks, I believe, or 4 of the last 5 weeks. He has a couple rushing touchdowns as well. The volume's not been there, but I'm also looking at that matchup and I'm saying, dude, they're playing Las Vegas. This game should not be remotely close.
Yeah.
So what have we seen when the game hasn't been close? We saw RJ Harvey get like 18 touches in that really blowout game. So to me, honestly, I'm just starting RJ Harvey, the guy who's been like red
No,
hot touchdown. I do think there's some risk of him just flat out getting less volume, but we've
sure.
also seen a couple complete stinkers from Vidal, anyways.
Yeah.
So like they both have that risk, and I think Harvey has a chance to really get some garbage time work here, and also catch a touchdown when the game's actually competitive. I could see. I think a lot of people will go Vidal though. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to like chase the points, but at a certain point, I mean, by hook or by crook, RJ Harvey's just getting it done lately and coming on. And I think that he's only going to earn himself more and more touches and opportunities and everything. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe we're due for a big J.K. Dobbins game. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. And on the other hand, maybe a bunch of people bench Vidal and then he, goes off. I mean, he kind of has this every other week thing going. So I could really argue that either way. But man, I mean, I'd have a tough time uh, putting RJ Harvey on the bench as Thursday Night Football is about to kick off. You know what I mean? So like, I'd probably just throw Harvey in the lineup, and then who knows? Like, if you end up getting some other injury on your team during the week, someone gets injured in practice or whatever, or some unexpected thing happens, well then, hey, now you still got Vidal as a guy that at least is a great first option off your bench if some injury pops up. Whereas if you bench Harvey because you're going to start Vidal, and then now like, this injury, AJ Brown's not playing now or something like that. It's like, oh, well, now you don't have anyone to put into your starting lineup in place of that guy because you sat Harvey on Thursday.
That's an extra bonus as well. And I do think Vidal would probably be like, I would think he'd be consensus. Maybe chat, let us know between Vidal and Harvey what you think. To me, I think it's very hard to sit Harvey when should be a blowout. And that's.
Yeah. And we just mentioned the Broncos. I mean, like, if I hear that, the Broncos are playing in a game, like, how do I get some players in that?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I would personally feel better going with him. And the floor is like
a tough one,
0 with Vidal anyways. Like, it seems like, or whatever, a couple points. So.
Yeah. And then what do you think about Tez Johnson versus Theo Johnson? I got the two Johnsons here. Ooh. So Tez Johnson coming off the bye. I mean, he'd really been coming on a bit. I don't know. I mean, who knows what's going on with Chris Godwin? I mean, I'm not going to expect him back until I actually see it. Mike Evans is out indefinitely. So, I mean, Tez Johnson should be the wide receiver 2 on the Bucs. Really good offense. I mean, they had kind of faded a little bit like before the bye week, but I'm sure they'll regroup and self-scout, and I expect them to come back and be the Buccaneers we know and love. So I'll have to look at matchups.
Who the Pats, but the Giants are playing the Bears.
Okay. So Bears. So again, my antenna is going up with that, but
I gotta think he's asking a tight end premium league, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you can confirm. And also, by the way, I just see K-Mex in here, so yo. And then J-Bug, we'll get to your question here next, by the way. Just one.
Welcome, guys. Yeah, we'll get to those in a minute.
But honestly, hey, I think this might be. I don't know how the Pats have been a good defense, from my understanding. I need to take a look. They've been the worst matchup for running backs, like possible for
running backs.
Maybe
they're a little more generous through the air.
Maybe they are. Maybe it's because the teams get down and have to throw it more or something like that. Like there might be some kind of context.
Because obviously, like Drake May and the offense has been so good that that would make sense.
They've been winning every game, dominating. So I mean, teams aren't, or you're gonna have to air it out on them. But the Bucs can get it done. That's an interesting one. I really think between 2 Johnsons. Honestly, to me, that's like a true, like, I'm looking for some kind of tiebreaker. This is, I think, a perfect example of, well, who the hell is going to be the guy in that potential nuclear game? We keep saying the Bears. The Giants also have been one of those ones. To me, I'm just going with the Giants and the Bears. Theo Johnson's been extremely usable, especially in tight end premium. His actual target share has been awesome. It's resulting in 6-7 targets. He keeps finding the end zone. To me, especially if it's tight end premium, I'll lean him slightly. But I would not blame anyone for playing Tez Johnson. He's been capitalizing on touchdowns as well in some big plays. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, my instinct would be to say Tez Johnson. I really like him as a player. I think he has a great opportunity as like the wide receiver 2 on the Bucs, like I was saying. But man, I mean, I almost feel like I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say Theo Johnson after what we were just talking about. I mean, having the Giants and Bears play each other. So, I'm going to lean, if it's a tight end premium, even just like a point 0.5 tight end premium, I'm going to lean ever so slightly with Theo Johnson, but I do think Tez Johnson's a rock solid start this week, and even rest of the season. I mean, Ron Stewart on YouTube kind of made a bold prediction with Tez Johnson. He